Hello and welcome back to Money Gist from the Central Bank, bringing you all you need to know from the topmost monetary authority. I'm Uliye Misidada. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says credibility is now Nigeria's biggest economic asset as global investors become more selective about where they put their money. Speaking at the 7th Africa Emerging Markets Forum, a two-day event hosted by the Central Bank of Nigeria in Abuja, CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso said reforms like exchange rate unification, ending monetary financing of government deficits, and improving transparency in the forex market are beginning to restore investor confidence. According to him, inflation is easing, external reserves are improving, and Nigeria's financial system is becoming more resilient. But he stressed that Africa must rely more on domestic capital, including pension funds, insurance assets, local savings, and diaspora investments to drive long-term growth.
We did the things we had to do to ensure that happened. We made our processes more transparent and open. We ensured that our policies were credible and clear to people. We avoided policy flip-flops, and where there was need for us to tweak certain things, we were, humble enough to come out and say, yes, there's need for us to do this. Okay, it's not a short dash, it's a journey. And also to take difficult decisions with respect to the foreign exchange market and the banking system. And I believe that the outcome of that has been positive. And you said something earlier during your presentation. You said that the figures speak for themselves. And that is exactly a fact. These figures do speak for themselves.
Backing the CBN's reforms, World Trade Organization WTO Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said the bank has done a commendable job refocusing on its core mandate, but she warned that Nigerians will judge these reforms by whether they create jobs to grow businesses and improve everyday living standards. She said Nigeria's future depends less on oil and natural resources and more on quality leadership. According to her, good leadership could account for as much as 75% of the country's economic success.
Let me just say that if we can get our house in order, we are capable of attracting in this country and this sub-region. I see chances for critical mineral supply chains linked to renewable energy because we have some of the critical minerals and rare earths between us, Ghana, Guinea, all along the West African coast. I don't think it should be just a country-by-country affair. I think we need to think of sub-regional supply chains that take us from processing all the way to EV batteries or something along that line. So I see good opportunity. But are we willing to do what it takes for the right leadership, governance, infrastructure? Infrastructure to be able to make this work. And the administrative obstacles in our way, when businesses want to invest and they have to run from one office to the other, maybe given something or the other under the table, let's be honest with ourselves. Are we going to be attractive or are we going to do away with those things?
Still on the 7th Africa Emerging Markets Forum, hosted by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the second day of the event also focused on critical economic strategies and development paths for the African continent, featuring keynote speeches, expert panels, and policy discussions. In his speech, the Finance Minister, Taiwo Oyedele, said the federal government is working on a new plan to reduce borrowing costs for businesses without introducing new subsidies. He also says Nigerians will soon see a detailed report showing how savings from fuel and forex subsidy removal have been spent, while insisting the reforms are now attracting more investment and supporting economic growth.
So we needed to stop deceiving ourselves so the country can move forward. And that reset meant that income levels in real terms will fall, and that would increase poverty. But the good news is that the numbers for 2025 in dollar terms, real per capita income growth was nearly 10%. That makes Nigeria one of the fastest countries in lifting people out of poverty. We intend to sustain that. Would like anyone to give us better ideas? Because we're always open to ideas. We said we will measure the number of Nigerians who live in multidimensional poverty, because that tells us not just about income, it tells us about access to basic needs. Number two, we will measure the increase in per capita real income growth. Number three, we'll measure the inequality by Gini coefficients. The combined measurement of those three metrics will tell us whether our growth is inclusive, whether we are lifting people out of poverty, or whether this is prosperity for just a few. Our intention is to make it prosperity for all Nigerians.
In his keynote speech, World Bank's chief economist Indamit Gill urged emerging economies to embrace AI through what he calls the Adopt, Adapt, Advance framework. He said AI should not be feared because of job loss concerns. Instead, emerging markets like Nigeria should adopt the technology, adapt it to solve local challenges, and advance by building innovation and developing homegrown AI capabilities.
And what we find is that a big part of what will yield the biggest returns in developing countries, for which they have the capacity to implement and effectively do so, is predictive AI. Okay? The second one is that there is a big advantage for AI in the improvement of the delivery of services. I'm talking about essential services like medical care, like education, like legal and judicial care, like agricultural extension, and so on. Now, these are bigger priorities in countries that are more agrarian, where you have many people who don't yet have these services and so on. So I'm describing a developing country like Nigeria or like India.
The CBN's 2025 annual report and statement of account has revealed that Nigeria's foreign exchange inflows hit a record $109.9 billion last year, up nearly 14% from the previous year. The growth was driven by stronger non-oil exports, capital inflows, and over-the-counter FX purchases. Despite higher outflows, the country still recorded a stronger net FX inflow of $60.8 billion. On the digital side, electronic payments surged to 3.46 quadrillion naira, while fraud losses dropped by more than 50%. Thanks to tighter security and BVN-NIN integration. Cross-border payments through PAPs also jumped almost five-fold, highlighting stronger intra-African trade and payment inflows. Similarly, the Central Bank of Nigeria had a much stronger financial year last year. The CBN posted a 136 billion naira surplus, up 251% from about 39 billion naira in 2024, thanks to higher investment income, foreign exchange gains, and tighter cost control. The bank's total asset also grew by 18% year-on-year. The report revealed an 18% shortfall in currency production as the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting PLC failed to deliver its full allocation of new banknotes, while foreign printers completed their assigned deliveries. Despite the setback, the CBN increased its overall currency printing plan by over 20% to meet growing cash demand. Nigeria's consumer credit has dropped for the first time in 6 years, according to the latest report from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The CBN says consumer loans fell by nearly 20% from 4.72 trillion naira in 2024 to 3.78 trillion naira last year, mainly because high interest rates made borrowing more expensive. Interestingly, while personal loans declined, retail loans surged by almost 64% to 1.94 trillion naira, making up more than half of all consumer credit. The report also shows banks are gradually increasing long-term lending, even though short-term loans still dominate. Despite the slowdown in consumer borrowing, overall private sector credit continues to grow, reaching 83.2 trillion naira by June of this year, showing businesses are still accessing financing under the CBN's tight monetary policy. So while consumer credit fell, private sector lending is still growing. How do you think this will impact the economy? Share your thoughts and let's discuss below. And that's all the money gist from the Central Bank at this time. Remember to like, share and subscribe and follow for more business and economic updates. I'm William Isidada. See you in the next one.